The scream of a child shattered the quiet afternoon like a glass pane exploding in slow motion, echoing through the narrow street lined with rusted mailboxes and tired houses. People turned, startled, frozen for a moment as they saw a small boy, no more than 7, running barefoot, his cheeks streaked with tears, his hands trembling like leaves in a storm. Behind him, an old woman lay on the cracked pavement, her frail body curled in pain, her silver hair scattered around her like a broken halo. The world seemed to hold its breath. A heavy stillness settled, the kind that comes right before a reckoning. At that very moment, the low rumble of engines approached, loud, deep, and unignorable, as a group of bikers rolled into the neighborhood and parked right outside the very door the boy kept pointing at with shaking fingers. It was a scene that felt ripped straight from the climax of a movie. Yet it was painfully, terrifyingly real. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for those who cannot stand alone, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to KindHeartsHub so more stories like this can reach hearts that need them. The boy's name was Ian, and life had taught him fear earlier than any child should ever know it. His grandmother, whom everyone lovingly called Nani, was the only warmth he had in a world that often seemed cold and indifferent. After losing his parents in a car accident 2 years earlier, he clung to her like a small bird clinging to the last branch in a storm. She worked hard, far too hard for a woman her age, cleaning homes, washing clothes, and doing whatever she could to keep him fed and safe. Across the street lived a man named Rolf, a bitter, temperamental figure whose anger always simmered close to the surface. He wasn't someone people liked to cross paths with, especially when he drank. Everyone in the neighborhood had learned to steer clear of him, everyone except Nani, who believed in speaking to everyone respectfully, even those who didn't deserve it. It happened on an afternoon like so many others. Ian was chasing a ball, laughing in the small, innocent way children do when they still believe the world is mostly gentle. The ball bounced toward Rolf's gate, and in her soft voice, Nani called after him to wait so she could fetch it. But as she walked toward the gate, Rolf burst out of his house, knocking the gate open with such force that it slammed into her. She stumbled, and the anger in his eyes flashed before anyone could understand what was happening. He shouted something no one fully heard, then struck her across the face with the back of his hand. It was sudden, violent, unjustifiable. She fell hard onto the ground, her body folding like paper. Ian watched in horror, his mind unable to digest the cruelty unfolding in front of him. He screamed, the kind of scream that rips a piece of childhood away forever. As the neighbors hesitated, afraid to intervene but unable to look away, the bikers arrived. They were a group most people misjudged at first glance. Black leather jackets, heavy boots, loud engines, tattoos stretched across muscular arms. But what many didn't know was that they called themselves Brothers of Mercy, a community biker group dedicated to protecting victims of abuse, raising funds for the needy, and stepping in when the vulnerable couldn't stand for themselves. They had been delivering food packages in nearby areas when they heard the commotion and followed the cries. Their leader, a tall man named Harris, was the first to jump off his bike. The moment he saw Ian sobbing beside his unconscious grandmother, something inside him snapped, an old memory, an old wound he carried from his own childhood. He knew the face of fear in children. He had once worn it himself. Without hesitation, the bikers formed a circle around Nani, shielding her from further harm, while Harris knelt to check her pulse and injuries. His hands, though rough and calloused, handled her with astonishing gentleness. Rolf stood frozen at his door, suddenly looking small compared to the wall of steel and leather confronting him. The bikers didn't touch him, didn't threaten him, but their presence alone spoke louder than any words. This ends now. The ambulance arrived and Nani was rushed to the hospital. Ian refused to leave her side, clutching her hand as if he feared she would slip away like everything else he had lost. Harris carried him into the emergency room waiting area and stayed beside him, speaking softly, reminding him he wasn't alone. Hours passed, heavy and slow. The bikers stayed the whole time, refusing to leave even when officers questioned them about the incident. They gave statements, explained what they saw, and ensured the police took action. For the first time in years, Rolf faced consequences he had always escaped before. Over the next few days, something beautiful happened. The bikers returned every evening to check on Nani's recovery and to bring food and essentials for Ion. They repaired the broken gate of his house, painted the peeling walls, and even replaced the flickering bulbs in the front yard. What started as an act of intervention slowly transformed into a bond that none of them had anticipated. Ion began to smile again, more smiles at first, then real ones, shy but brighter each passing day. Nani, though still weak, found comfort in the presence of these tough-looking men who treated her with the respect and tenderness she rarely received from society. Haris in particular took a special interest in Ion. He told him stories, not through dialogue but through actions. He showed him how to fix a punctured tire, how to plant seeds in the small strip of soil outside their home, how to stand tall even when life tries to shrink you. Ion learned that strength wasn't loud anger or intimidating presence. It was quiet protection, steady compassion, and the willingness to stand up for what is right. The bikers visited the neighborhood regularly after that, ensuring no one bullied the residents again. Rolf, facing legal charges and the watchful eyes of everyone, stopped causing trouble altogether. But the most beautiful transformation happened inside Ion. Where fear once lived, courage began to grow. Where loneliness had settled, family blossomed, in the form of men who looked intimidating on the outside but carried enormous kindness in their hearts. And for Nani, who had spent years fighting life's battles alone, it was the first time she felt truly supported. Their presence gave her a sense of security she had not felt in decades. Weeks later, when Nani finally returned home, the entire street celebrated. The bikers lined up with their engines humming softly, not in intimidation but in tribute. Ion hugged Haris tightly, burying his face in the leather jacket that had become a symbol of safety for him. The once broken street now felt alive again, filled with a sense of unity that had been missing for far too long. Ion's home, once shadowed by struggle and quiet sorrow, now glowed with repaired walls, brighter lights, and hearts that had been healed. Life didn't magically become perfect. Struggles still came, bills still piled up, and worries still crossed their minds. But everything was different now because they were no longer fighting alone. The bikers continued to check on them, bringing joy on difficult days, laughter on heavy evenings, and protection when shadows felt close again. Ion, shaped by trauma but healed through kindness, carried a new dream within him, to grow up and help people the way the bikers had helped him and his grandmother, and every time he heard the distant rumble of engines, he felt gratitude instead of fear, hope instead of pain. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to KindHeartsHub so more souls can feel the power of kindness and community. Special request: tell us in the comments, what does kindness mean to you?